Hey guys, this is Brad. I'm a salesperson here at Surfing Hydrangea Nursery, and we're located at 91 Somerset Road out on Nantucket. And today we're out at the front gate of the nursery, and I'm planting this really neat Scarlet Sentinel apple tree. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you guys how to plant a containerized tree. So we're going to go ahead and take it out of the pot and take a look at the root system. That's the first thing to do. So depending on the size of the tree and the size of the pot, you should be able to either just lift it out of the pot or cut the pot away. I'm going to pull it out of the pot and see what we find. Very often trees that are in pots will have a very, very congested root system. I anticipate this one won't, but let's see. So I'm just going to tap the pot like that, and we should get the whole root system out. Alright, so in this particular case, obviously it wasn't extremely root bound. You can see there are roots towards the edge here, but there's nothing circling. That would be the first consideration with a tree in a pot. You would expect to have a lot of large roots circling the outside of the root ball. And a good thing to do in that situation would be to actually cut them. You can take a utility knife or use the back of your pruners, like this, and score the edge of the root ball. Okay, so I've gone around the outside and I've made sure that there's no roots circling the root ball. In any areas where there was a large root, I either pulled it off or I cut it to make sure that the circling wouldn't continue. And now what I want to show you is an important consideration about how trees are grown. This particular tree is a grafted tree. That means that when it was grown in the nurseryman put together two different trees. One tree was grown only for the rootstock from here down, and the second portion of the tree from here up was grown for the selected variety that we're growing, and then they were cut and married together. This is what's called a grafted tree. And the graft must always be above the soil line. The other consideration is if you're in a tree that was actually grown in the pot on its own roots, there will be what's called a root flare. And this area would be wider down to the roots. And that tells us exactly where we need to have it planted in the ground. This flare here, where the roots stop and the trunk begins. So, sometimes the root flare will be buried below the surface of the soil. So it's really important to take a really good look at the tree and make sure that you know where that is. All right, so now that we know what we're planting, we're gonna go ahead and prepare the hole. I first want to make sure that I know the depth that the hole is going to be dug to. The easiest way to do that is to measure it with your shovel. I have my shovel here. I put it next to the tree here, and I can see that the depth of my hole is roughly the depth of the shovel, maybe slightly more shallow. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and dig a hole that is roughly the depth of my shovel and no deeper, and about 2 to 3 times wider than the root ball. This allows the tree's roots to spread quickly out into the surrounding soil. So I'm going to set the tree aside and go ahead and start digging. Okay, so I went ahead and I dug the hole. I want to show you that I have a hole that is roughly the depth of my shovel. It is no deeper, and it is a couple of times wider than the root ball, and it has slanted sides. The reason to have slanted sides is that the roots of the tree are going to grow laterally much faster than they will grow down, and these are going to be the feeder roots, and they're also going to help to anchor the tree. So, digging. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the tree in the hole. So I want to get the tree in the position I want it to be in. I gently placed it in the hole, and I'm going to go ahead and backfill it. Things to think about when you're backfilling it: I'm going to backfill it with the native soil, which is the soil that I took out of the hole. I'm not going to amend it. There's been a lot of talk about amend the soil, fertilize the soil, put the native soil back in, and over the last few years, most experts agree that it's best to plant a tree with the native soil. So, I put it in a wheelbarrow over here. I'm going to bring it back over. And this is really handy, by the way, to either put the soil in a wheelbarrow or on a tarp, you know, whatever. and I'm going to shovel it in next to the roots. I'm going to go about 1/3 of the way up, and then I'm going to very, very gently press it up next to the roots to shore it up. Some people will go in with their foot and they'll be banging on it. It's really not necessary. The most important thing is that the roots grow into the soil. So I'm going to backfill it. Okie dokie. So I've backfilled the tree. I've pressed any air holes out so that there's no air next to the roots. And now I'm going to build a little berm around the outside to hold water for me. Okay, so this little wall that I've built here goes all the way around the tree. This will hold roughly 3 gallons of water. And the first watering is going to settle the roots and settle the whole root ball so that the tree will be anchored in the soil. And it will also help us fill up any of those funny little air pockets that have happened during planting. So I'm going to fill that with water right now and let it drain once. All right, there we go. So I'm going to fill the berm completely with water. And now I'm going to let it drain. Let it drain completely until you don't see any water. Don't do any more work with the soil. If you start to backfill it now when there's water still in there, you're going to compact it more than is necessary. So we just have to wait. Alright guys, so the water has subsided. You can see that the tree actually didn't settle much from that watering, which is really good. By the time we remove this berm in a year's time or so, the tree will actually be roughly 1 inch above grade, which is perfect. Again, you can notice that the graft line is well above the soil surface. If it were a tree that was grown in the field, then the root flare still will be roughly 1 inch above the soil surface, which is perfect. So we've got it watered. Now I'm going to go ahead and mulch it, and then we'll be good to go. We can fill it full of water once a week or so, a couple of gallons, for the first month or so, and then after that we'll just watch it. Next year we'll take this berm, we'll knock it all down, and he'll be good to go. He'll be a happy tree for the rest of his life. So important things about mulch. We're going to use a nice organic mulch. This mulch is actually made out of wood chips we have at the nursery, but you could use pine, you could use cedar chips. We actually sell a really nice bagged enriching mulch here at the nursery that's great for this. But it's really, really important when you're mulching a tree or any other plant, to be honest, that you don't put any mulch right next to the base of the plant. Notice when I mulch it, I'm covering the root zone here, but I'm leaving a really good space here away from the trunk. Mulch next to the trunk does 2 really bad things. The first thing it will do is cause rot in that really important bark right at the soil level. And the second thing that can happen is insects will live in the mulch and they'll burrow into the tree, and obviously that's bad. So, so this is how I'm going to leave it. Water it in a week or so, and hopefully we'll have a lot of apples this year. So thanks a lot for watching. This is again how to plant a containerized tree.